Apple just dropped updates to pretty much every one of its operating systems at WWDC 2025. iOS, macOS, iPadOS, watchOS, tvOS, and even visionOS. But not every update is created equally. Some are game changers and some barely moved. So instead of just listing features, I'm going to be breaking down what actually matters across each operating system, starting with the one that you probably care about the most, which is iOS 26. Before we get started, welcome to a new video, and if you're new here, welcome to the channel. Glad you're here, where I make content around tech, accessories, and my experience with it to try to help you out. If you enjoyed this video, definitely leave a like, and if you're interested to see more, subscribe. And now let's get started. So Apple skipped a bunch of numbers for all of their operating systems, so now everything is 26, including iOS. So it's now iOS 26 and not iOS 19 like we thought maybe earlier last year, but what's new with it is there's a whole new visual design. So the first thing you'll notice is Apple's new overhaul liquid glass design, and it's the first sort of major update in terms of visuals and aesthetics since iOS 7. Translucent layers, depth, and a more polished shine that makes everything feel more fluid and premium. So liquid glass is what they're calling their new design overhaul, which I don't know, a lot of people are not liking it, a lot of people are liking it. I personally think that it's just like an Android theme, but it's Apple's way. I'm curious to see what the full-fledged version looks like. Apple also gave two of its arguably most used apps a much needed refresh. The camera app is way cleaner now. You can only see the photo and video mode up front when you first open the camera app, which is really good for quick access. And the phone app now merges your favorites, recents, and voicemails into a single scrollable view. It's simpler and honestly just makes more sense. Now the control center and the lock screen got a bit of an update as well. You can now control the control center a little bit more and resize toggles and add a bit more controls. And the lock screen widgets also got smarter with dynamic smart stacks that adjust based on your routine. And speaking of smarter, Apple also talked about AI, Apple Intelligence, but briefly, which I think was a good move because they don't really have much to talk about. They brought features like live translation during phone calls, call screening, and these features we saw in Android in previous years, but they're now the Apple version, and your iPhone can now listen, translate, and speak another language during a phone call, like a live phone call, which is pretty cool. And call screening also we're kind of familiar with. If you don't like kind of spam calls, which I'm pretty sure we all get them now, then this feature really comes in handy because it can now screen or transcribe your calls as they come in. Now, a new feature is Hold Assist, which I've never seen before. If you have, then definitely comment down below. But basically what this does is it holds your phone for you, like it holds the phone call for you until like a real person picks up the phone and talks. And that way you can save time, energy, and just do what you're doing while you're on hold. So that's a great feature introduced by Apple. Good job. They also updated the Messages app, but it's, again, not really a dramatic update. You can create polls in group chats, set custom chat backgrounds, and finally you can see typing indicators in group chats as well. There's also a new Games app which combines Apple Arcade, multiplayer activity, and Game Center. Do you remember that? All into one sort of hub, which is really good to see. It's finally consolidated. And there's a tiny little update for AirPods, but it's super cool. Basically what you can do is you can tap the stem of your AirPods and it will trigger your iPhone to open the camera immediately, which is really cool for remote shooting or selfies or group photos or something. You can just set your phone down, have your AirPod in, and just tap, and it should open the camera app and take a photo as well. So that's a pretty cool feature as well. Overall, iOS 26 is that one rare update that looks better, works smarter, and feels more helpful in the day-to-day. And honestly, it's probably one of the most exciting iOS updates in many years. Like iOS 17, 18 were kind of incremental and very buggy, as we all know, but iOS 26 seems like a promising update. Plus it supports iPhones all the way up to the iPhone 11. So if you have like an iPhone 11, 11 Pro, 11 Pro Max or something, you're covered until the iPhone 17, in which case you're probably due or maybe even overdue for an upgrade. But that's a topic for a different video. Subscribe to see that. Okay, so macOS Tahoe. This is macOS 26, and it's a whole lot more of a refinement than more of like a flashy update. And it basically makes your Mac a whole lot smarter, more consistent, and it's just overall more powerful. So just like iOS, visually there's an update to the whole design, which is liquid glass, and they also brought, just like iOS, updates to Messages and the Games app as well to macOS, which is pretty good to see in terms of consistency. You do get updates to Apple Intelligence on macOS now, so you can now summarize emails, generate custom Genmojis just like on iPhone, and Spotlight got a huge update. It's actually way more useful now. It doesn't just search, it actually does things for you. Think of it like your Mac's own command center powered by on-device AI, which is really cool because you can now like type messages into the Spotlight and it'll do that for you. Like for example, if I wanted to send a message to my friend, I can just type it into Spotlight, send message to so-and-so, photo saying so-and-so, and it'll do that right through Spotlight, which is pretty cool to see. You also see features like call screening and hold assist when you're paired to your iPhone come to the Mac, so that's pretty good as well when it comes to ecosystem consistency. Speaking of ecosystem consistency, there's also now full-fledged iOS apps on the Mac. So starting with the phone app is finally now on macOS. You don't have to dig through FaceTime to just make a regular call or something. You can directly do that through the phone app, which is really good to see. And for the first time ever, live activities are coming to the Mac. You can track your Uber, your timer, or food order right from the menu bar. And like I mentioned before, the Games app is also on macOS, giving Apple Arcade and Game Center a cleaner and more social feeling. So macOS 26 Tahoe doesn't like reinvent the desktop experience, but it does make your everyday tasks smarter, faster, and a little bit nicer to look at. And before we get to the iPadOS, we'll talk about the small updates, so the watchOS, tvOS, and visionOS. So with watchOS 26, the main update is now called Wrist Flick. A quick flick of the wrist now dismisses notifications or even scrolls for you. tvOS was quiet but not forgotten, but basically the main update with tvOS is the liquid glass design to make it consistent with across all operating systems throughout Apple's lineup. You're probably getting tired of hearing this by now, but visionOS 26 is more of a refinement than like a reinvention as well. The Vision Pro now supports PlayStation VR 2 for better gaming experience. Again, it's not a huge leap, but it's definitely progress in the right direction. So that covers the lighter updates, but I'm saving arguably the best for last. iPadOS 26. This might finally make the iPad feel more like it deserves the Pro name. Let's talk about it. You can now freely resize app windows and not just snap them. There's also a Mac style menu bar for supported apps when using a keyboard or a mouse. And you know the preview app, the one that I'm actually using to show these windows, it's finally coming on iPad. You can sign PDFs, annotate images, fill out forms. It's basically a must-have for students, professionals, and really anyone who's tired of third-party workarounds. And the Games app is also now on iPadOS 26. It feels less like an iPad pretending to be a Mac and more like the real deal. iPadOS 26 is probably the closest that Apple's ever come to turning the iPad into like a full-fledged laptop. So that's everything Apple announced at their WWDC 2025 event across all their platforms. Everything from iOS 26's visual overhaul and glow up to iPadOS finally unlocking real multitasking. Personally, I think iOS 26 and iPadOS 26 had the biggest wins this year, but I want to know what you think. Drop a comment down below on what your favorite feature is or device update is, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in one of these two videos or in the next one. Bye.